Hi, I want to welcome you to this month's training on Orton-Gillingham methods, what you need to know about Orton-Gillingham. I'm going to share my screen right away and go to my PowerPoint. I'm Dr. Marianne Cintron, and what the topic of this webinar is Orton-Gillingham, what you need to know. Orton-Gillingham methods. People ask, is there an Orton-Gillingham curriculum? And there is not, because Orton-Gillingham wants every student to be individually taught according to what they need help with. But there is a wonderful book you can get from me. It's the ABCs of OG, and I include this in my reading program. You may be able to find it online as well, but there are words and sentences and support in there. So I've had over 200 hours of Orton-Gillingham practicum. I have my doctorate in education, leadership, and administration. I have 2 master's degrees, one in special ed, one in general ed. And I keep my credentials current. And I'm the president of Step by Step Dyslexia Solutions. I'm a national teacher trainer, a YouTube host and podcast host, 23 years experience in education, 10 years as a classroom teacher, and I'm an app developer. My app is CDSM, if you want to check that out. It's a free download, and a curriculum writer. I'm an author of 7 books and a public speaker. Want to introduce my family to you. Meet my amazing family. My 3 kids are here. Randy's here at the bottom, wondering if he likes this co-ed shower. Laura and Richard are my daughter and son, and their significant others are here. Laura married Michael 2 years ago, and then Nicolina is Richard's girlfriend who's having a baby within a week. So here we are, all being goofy under the balloons. We had a fun baby shower, and I'm excited to be a grandma. Will is here being a little silly, my husband of 32 years. He keeps me happy and keeps me laughing because he's a funny guy. So the learning outcomes for today, I'm going to show you how to get started with assessments and organizers. I'm going to let you know what tools you'll need for an OG program. I'm going to share OG secrets, the curriculum, my scope and sequence, and how to monitor what monitoring pages I use. I'm going to help you sort through the details, planning your day, and I'm going to talk about next steps. So I want you to do this little exercise, and just for a little relaxer, while some people might have to go get more paper for notes, I want you to let me know how you would add these numbers. Take a look at those numbers. I'm going to grab something real quick. So I'm going to show you how I would add them. I used to teach math my last couple of years of teaching school, which is why I left the public school district, because I needed to teach reading. But for math, which became my second love, I would add a 0 here, and then I would count by 10 starting here, where you add the 10 with the 0, the 9 and the 1, the 8 and the 2. You'd have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 5. So the reason I show you this is there are many ways to do math, and there are different ways to teach reading, but Orton-Gillingham is the gold standard for teaching reading. So first, how to get started with assessments and organizers. You need to determine if is your child already assessed, or do you need to do a screen to see if they have the eligibility requirements? In California and across the United States, we look for high intelligence, average to high intelligence, a 2-year or more discrepancy with reading, and deficits in phonological awareness, which are reflected in writing, spelling. So your school should be able to assess your child for dyslexia. You can go to my website and download a letter that you just fill out and take that to your school psychologist or your school principal, and it asks for your child to be assessed, and they need to do this or they will be in trouble because you have as a parent have rights. So when you get your child assessed for dyslexia, you determine, well, they're going to give you an IEP. That's the first step, and the whole IEP process is a whole other topic. I also have a screen that I give teachers where I have unfamiliar sentences that I have students write. And an example of those would be, let me just read to you. Like, Anne must drink her milk is one example. And if you said, what are you two doing here? Those are just two examples of what I would give second to fourth graders to write. And then I have, if the kids struggle with writing those kind of sentences, I actually give them 6. One of them is, her first nurse was early. They teach those sounds in 2nd grade. Even they're introduced to them in 1st and they learn them in 2nd. They need to know them by 3rd. So then I would have the teacher bring up those students who couldn't write. And if the writing is illegible, that's a whole other issue because there could be dysgraphia there. But then I have nonsense words. I've got 24 nonsense words, and they are like BAIK, bake, PLOK, pluck, NAEF, naif, TOAM, tome. I have them read those nonsense words, see if they know the phonetic sounding, how to sound them out phonetically. You can get any kind of word list, a 2nd grade word list, 3rd grade word list, pick out about a dozen, change the first letter, and you're going to make it a nonsense word. If it's not a rhyme, right? You're going to make it a nonsense word. And that's how you can quickly assess your own child if they know those phonemes. So I also can assess with phonogram cards, and we have a word list. I have a sound list that you check off to see if they know the sounds, but I will assess a student for an hour if they're going to be in my tutoring program. So I use the PPVT, Peabody Picture Vocabulary, and I use the GORT, which is the Gray Oral Reading Test. When I'm assessing a student for 2.5 hours, I will do the CTOP, which goes into many levels of phonological awareness. And I'll also do the Gallistel-Ellis for reading and the Barnell-Loft for spelling. And it targets exactly where the student's struggling. If you want to take a picture of this with your phone, that would be good. Now, those are some of the assessments I got from my Orton-Gillingham training. The Orton-Gillingham provides a sound checkoff list. And this actually came from the ABCs of OG. And let me see something here. The sound checkoff list looks like this. It breaks, I'm going to show it to you in my camera right here. It breaks down what you would introduce first, second, group 3, group 4, group 5, and then group 6, group 7. Look at, these are some of the ones in the higher groups. I would introduce these, and then the ABCs of OG also shows you this page. Syllables, spelling, different things you can be working on. Prefixes. You know what chameleon prefixes are? Like add, com, dis, ex, in. So I have some students who've worked with me over 100 hours, over 125 hours. So I'm getting into some of these higher level concepts with them. And you just check them off as you learn them. Then we have SOS Worksheet. The SOS Worksheet is, you can create one of these yourself. The top third is where I say a sound, like I'll say A. How do we write A? And your child will write the different ways we spell A. Say E. How do we spell E? and you could say write or spell. And we know E is E consonant E, EA, EE, EY, Y. So kids really love that, and it reinforces the sounds. Now, in the beginning, I will just use the phonogram cards, and I'll have them say the sound of the beginning phonogram cards. But as my students are with me longer, and they know the phonogram cards pretty easily, I'll reinforce the vowel teams. So E, A, O, U. Okay, so then we have your checkoff list. And then there's also something you can get online called the PAST. It's by Kilpatrick. And it's a monthly, or every 6 weeks, you can do an assessment. Now the PAST, you start off with 2 syllables and you delete 1. Then you have 3 syllable words and you delete 1. So sometimes you're deleting the beginning syllable, sometimes you're deleting the ending syllable. So we start warming up the student with that. And then we do sound substitutions, where we're going to drop off, well, sound deletions, drop off the first letter of 1 syllable words, drop off the last letter of 1 syllable words, and then we will substitute. And it gets more and more complicated, and you can get all those different levels from PAST. So the SOS worksheet is this sheet again. First, we start with the sounds. Then I'm going to have my student write 10 of the words that I've taught with a new sound. And then I do 2 or 3 sentences on the bottom. If you have older students, you can do more sentences. But that worksheet, I organize it in one of the tabs, and I keep my model in one tab and the students' work in another tab. Now, if you write neatly, you can actually go to your pages for review and let the student do review on your pages. And then keeping track of daily lessons, I have a page that looks like this. It's got 3 columns. I put the student's name at top, so I put the date. I put what the target phoneme or spelling pattern is. And then I have a 3rd column for syllable types, because sometimes I'll add a syllable type that I'm teaching, and it could be the camel syllable type, which is, the short vowel followed by consonants. We have camel, tiger, reptile, turtle words. We have egret words, and we have catfish words. So those are compound words. And I have several Orton-Gillingham videos you can look through to find how to teach syllable types. But I keep track of them, because certainly your student's going to say, I never learned that. And you can quickly reference that page and say, well, we did learn it, but let's review it. Okay. So here are some familiar phases of dyslexic people who have a trait of genius. And I like to say, we need to build our child's self-esteem so we can unlock their genius mind. I have a book with that topic if you want to get that on Amazon. Dyslexia, a trait of genius. So what tools you'll need for the OG program? When I do OG warms up. So sometimes I've had a coach that wanted to warm up with handwriting practice. I had another coach who wanted to warm up with these drills that I told you about, like the Kilpatrick drills, where you're dropping off a syllable from a 2-syllable word or a 3-syllable word, doing sound substitutions and deletions. I actually have that I have created from my reading program that I'll give to you if you decide to purchase that from me. But then we have phonogram cards that you want to go through. We have large phonogram cards, and I have small phonogram cards. And I like the small phonogram cards. I sort them out in this little plastic container that I got for the holidays. There were nuts and chocolates in here, but I separate my consonants. I have my vowel teams. I have my vowels. I have my ending sounds. So I have my suffixes, my prefixes are separate. And this is what we use for sound blending. So more tools, have a binder that has 5 tabs. What I put before the tabs is my daily planner. And it's like a scope and sequence, but it's not. It's a daily planner. And it has 10 steps that I go through every day. I put the date here and I check off when I've done the warm up, when I've done my visual drill with the phonogram cards, when I've done SOS, how do you spell? I check it off. When I do sound blending with these little cards, I will check it off. And then I'm going to introduce my new concept. I'm going to check it off. And every category gets checked off when you complete it. So when you have that in the front of your binder, you can see what your new concept was, what date you did it. And also I number these. So I get so excited when my students hit at the 25 session marker, the 50 session marker, the 75 session marker, the 100 marker. I give them a gift certificate. Not a gift certificate, I give them a certificate of completion and celebration. So here in your binder, that's going to be in the front. Then you're going to have one of your tabs is going to have your syllable types. Because when you teach the tiger words, the lion words, the turtle words, you want to have all that in a tab so you can review it when you need to. Then you're going to have your Orton-Gillingham lesson. So these you actually can copy right out of the ABCs of OG. And when you have them, I scan them and keep them online because I tutor online, but I file them in the students tab so that I can refer to it easily and also do review with it. Then one of my tabs is going to have my lesson plan. Now my lesson plan looks a little different. It looks like this. It has the 10 steps that I checked off from this. But this time I put day 1 when I teach it, and I do day 2 when I review it. This is what I'm going to put exactly in one of the tabs, because this is where I'm going to document the student errors. If I want to include a sight word, they call those ring words. And if the student does reading, I like to use the Spire decodable readers, which were free downloads, and you might have your own readers. And then if I give homework that's connected to what the new lesson is, you can document that here. And it's so it's 2 pages, this and this, but I think it's much more efficient than some of the other pages I was taught to use, sorry. So anyway, you're going to have your work in one tab and the students' work in another tab from the SOS. So I give the students' work to the family about every couple months. I let the family know this is the work I've been doing. So the OG secrets, warm up, SOS. I put page 6. The 6 plus really means page 6. So here is a scope and sequence that you should have your own scope and sequence. I know all the different reading programs have their own scope and sequence, but this is what you're going to use to determine what the student knows and what you have to work on. Okay. And I use this to guide my SOS. How do you spell E? Well, these are the ways we spell E. So and I put the plus sign after that because there's actually another a page you can create like this. It shows how many ways do we pronounce the long letter A? Like, how do we pronounce the long letter A? It's A consonant E, it's A-I, A-Y, E-I, E-Y, E-A. So when you have a checklist like that, you can mark that off as well. So it complements your scope and sequence. But most of those more complicated won't be till down at the bottom. where you're doing your vowel types, vowel teams. So then, one of the other things, second thing we do, well, so you're using your phonogram cards, large and the small. Then we're doing sound blending with the small cards. You're going to pick something that the student needs work on, maybe the vowel team of EA, and you're going to get your consonants and put your consonant in front of the vowel card. And you could even put a consonant at the end of the vowel card. And just be sure that the student maintains the EA says E or EA says A. And that's going to be some of the review. And then you can also teach your new concepts with these little cards. So you're going to review previous words and sentences. You want to be sure you ask questions. This stimulates the critical thinking skills. And you want to be sure they understand the words that you're teaching them. And it's just fun to get them speaking, because a lot of times, we solve our own problems when we speak, right? So speaking is very important with Orton-Gillingham. It's one of the senses we want to use. We want to see, we want to touch, we want to speak, we want to hear. Okay, so this is all review up front. Then we teach the new concept. Now, the new concept, you're also going to review on day 2, and it may even go to day 3 and 4. When you go to the ABCs of OG, they have examples of one-syllable words using the concept you're teaching, and then it could go into two-syllable words. Like I'm already doing SION, and SION sounds like shun, SION sounds like jeune. So I'll start with easier words, and then on day 2, I'll add more difficult words or two-syllable words. I like this for when I teach the sounds of we have the of her. So we'll do HER words or ER words. And then on day 2, I will add where ER is part of the word, like farmer, worker. And then I'll also do day 3, where ER could be harder, faster, smarter. So it's a superlative level of using ER as it's a suffix. Then we have SOS. So this is where the student has already done SOS in the front at the beginning of your hour, where they're spelling the sounds that you tell them. But down here towards the end, this is how we wrap up our lesson. We have them write 10 words that we say. So we're always going to say the word, and we're going to tap it out phonetically, have them write it. And if they can say the letters as they're writing, that's wonderful. But a lot of my students have to say what they've written after they write it. And then COPS is when they write their sentences. We want to be sure they capitalize. They want to punctuate their sentences. And we want to be sure their sentence makes sense. Read your sentence. Does it make sense? And organize. I always ask them, what are we working on? It's funny. Sometimes the kids forget the sound you're working on for the day. So yeah, I want to be sure that they're getting the right sound. If we're doing CE, CI, CY, and they end up putting S's in front of EI or Y, I'm going to just point out, what are we learning? What's our concept today? So then I have students that love to end the day with reading. We don't always get it in, but I read from decodable readers. So sorting through the details, what is really needed? You're going to need the assessment, and you can use your scope and sequence to assess your child, get the phonogram cards, check off what they know, and determine what you're going to teach. So in the beginning, you're going to be reviewing what they already know, but once you start teaching, you're going to be reviewing what your new lessons were. So it's really cool. Sort your phonogram cards out. As I showed you, get a little container if you can find one from, put your suffixes together, your consonants, your prefixes, vowel teams. Have your SOS papers pre-printed. Have the progress monitoring tools in your binder. And so the progress monitoring, I have the past. I have those pre-printed, and sometimes the parents don't want me to really be assessing. They want to continue, but you will want to assess your students. So have those pre-printed, have your daily recording pre-printed, and have covers. And then the tabs are going to cover all the lessons in your work. So have your binder ready. You could see on my back wall here, that's where I have all my forms in a little hanger on my wall. So I can just pull it out when I need it. Finally, have the syllable types on hand and be prepared to teach. So I have a table behind me that has the syllable types. Have them printed out, have contractions ready, have the rules change in Y to I, you could have folders of different lessons you're going to be able to easily access when the student is using it, when the student's ready to learn it. So next steps, how to begin. Decide if you're going to assess your student, if you want your school to assess them. Be sure you write that letter. And again, you can download it from my website for free. It's dyslexia-solutions.com. And you need to have your school schedule the IEP. And then you're going to decide if you want to teach your child or do you want someone else to tutor your child. Reach out to me. I have tutors on hand waiting to help to tutor your child. Create a warm-up list for your word list. So the reason I say this is I'm one of those people that if I can do it myself, show me how to get started and I'll do it myself. Now, what I can't do myself is my bookkeeping and, my accounting and, there's other things where I hire people, help me with my website, help me with my marketing. But if you could create your own warm-up list, do it. If you need my warm-up list, I've already done it. I'll help you out there. Purchase the cards and the binders. You can save cardboard and make your own cards. You can put them on index cards. Or if you want to purchase cards from me, I have them for you. 123 or more with beautiful colors, and they're all color sorted. Locate the ABCs of OG or other reading program. Pick a program you're going to want to use. And if you have, there's so much out there. Even you could, go on the internet and find words that use EA, and then EA says E or EA says A. Or you could reach out to me. I have several books that I purchased on hand ready to give you in the reading program. So we start as young as kindergarten and we continue through high school. When I taught second grade and eighth graders, they all struggle with phonemic awareness. And I tell the students that your brain works differently. We're just going to retrain your brain. Dyslexia, it is a trait of genius. And we want to build our students' self-esteem so that they can realize their full potential and unlock their genius mind. Please call me if you'd like to have a 15-minute consultation or 30 minutes. And I have my reading program where I use music, and I have my Orton-Gillingham program where I don't use music, and that's when I use the ABCs of OG. And sometimes I use them both because I can. So there's a free download of the music app. You can try that. It's CDSM. And I am going to have this webinar on March 2nd in person if you want to join us. It's on Eventbrite. So I'd love to see you on this webinar where you'll receive the handouts that I talked about, and also come with your questions. It's going to be a 30-minute webinar, and I'm going to answer all your questions. So I want to thank you for coming here today, and call me. It's hard to have someone answer your questions, and I'm here to help you. I've been doing free webinars over the past couple of years, and I am a nonprofit organization. So I'm always looking forward to students we can tutor, because that helps the nonprofit go. And also I'm tutoring students, but your donations are greatly appreciated to keep these free webinars going. So thank you for your time, and reach out to me. I'm going to stop my share here and share this with someone else if you like. So I'll see you March 2nd, and you can find the event on Eventbrite. Look for Dr. Marianne Cintron, and it's Learning Orton-Gillingham Methods. Bye-bye now.